right here. And of course, that brilliant young actress, Hazel Downey. Now, you guys, are you mic'd up? No, we need if I can grab a mic.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. All good. Thank you, Stephen. So here, Alicia, I'm going to ask you first to start off. What drove you to broach this topic, a topic that is something that a lot of Black women and women of color have had to deal with, and you can see from that very young age right up until adulthood?
Well, when I went to film school, I would say I was pretty ignorant about like the lack of equality in film, and then I was the only Black woman, and I really started to think about all the films I had seen as a kid and how I never saw myself represented. And it was like I internalized all these European ideas, and you know, all my heroes looked a certain way and my Barbies were a certain way, and it wasn't until I was an adult that I was able to be like, wait, but I'm Black, why am I trying to tell a story about someone else? So I decided I really had to look within and tell my own stories. And, you know, I looked back to when I was 11 and I straightened my hair for the first time chemically. And I started to analyze why I had done that in the first place. And I started to think about all these like microaggressions that I'd experienced. And I just really wanted to showcase something that I feel a lot of Black women experience with our natural hair. Whether you wear it in any way, it's like, is it real? Can I touch it? Like, there's so many, do you wash your hair? All these questions that are honestly just ignorant and uncomfortable that I experienced from a child to adulthood. So I just wanted to share my experience and hopefully have it resonate with other Black women and honestly anybody that's ever experienced any microaggression.
Absolutely. And why did you want to become a director? What inspired you?
It's on. I just since I was young, had a need to like tell stories. And like I mentioned, when I was in film school, my mission became very clear that I wanted to tell the stories that I wish I had seen as a child. Yeah, which is for now, it's my own stories, like the stories of Black women. And I especially like to focus on youth because I feel like there's so many ideas put into our head from a young age that literally it took me being 25 making this film to cut off all my hair because I cast you in the film and I was like, yo, I want my afro back. Literally, but it took me years. It took me a year of making the film to like actually recognize that I didn't have to be, you know, the person, like every time I watched a movie as a child, the beautiful woman in the movie was a white woman with like, you know, long, like the hair flip, like everything. And I wanted to be that when I was a kid. And it literally took me making the film and like unearthing all these like difficult things I dealt with as a child, the comments people made to me, the insensitivity, you know, all of that to go back to my natural hair and just embrace my natural self, basically.
Which is amazing. Hazel, 14 years old. Hazel's only 14, acting for 6 years now. With that beautiful head of hair that you have you experienced similar questions, similar microaggressions, and just things that people, you know, questions that they may think are innocent, but in the end, they really do hurt and they last?
For me personally, I don't experience as much hate towards my hair, but there are questions that are very insensitive, such as, can I touch your hair, like, as if it's an object or something, or it's a toy for like a little toddler, like it's my hair, it's real. And like they always be like, oh, is that a wig? Or, oh, is that a weave? Like, no, that's my real hair. This is what I live with every day. It's a struggle. It's not your hair. It's not something easy to deal with at all. Trust me, every morning. Not a good situation for school. But yeah, I do feel like this film has showed me a different perspective of the hate towards hair. For me personally, I've always loved my hair. Ever since I was a little kid, I've always like been very strong with my hair. I mean, I've always worn my hair out. I mean, most of my school pictures have my hair out. There's this one time actually in 4th grade. It was really humid outside, not a good day. So my hair decided that it wanted to go poofy. So it didn't fit the frame. It was blocking someone's face, actually. If I pulled up that picture from 4th grade, the person's face was only half seen. So that was a great day. But yeah, I don't know, not really.
That's good. That's a good sign, I think. I think that's a good sign because at least what I notice is more and more young Black women, I look around and they're wearing their natural hair. In elementary through to high school, my nieces, it's all about natural hair. And I'm like, all right, that pressure is gone. Or I shouldn't say gone, but is less. And the more and more people like you grow up and no matter what, you love your hair. And if we keep spreading that message, that's what we need to do. And Hazel, I want to ask you, what are your acting goals? What do you want to do next?
I would love to star in any kind of film, TV show that has to do with empowering women or people of color, as I believe there are a lack of people of color and people that embrace their hair or embrace their ethnicity, their race in TV shows and movies. As like recently I've been seeing a lot of, for example, Asian people or Black people are in like more movies that have to do with people of color, and I believe that if I get a role in any kind of future film like so, I could definitely show awareness that it is okay to wear your hair like this. It is okay to be a person of color in film, and yeah, that's kind of my goal.
Love it. Love it. Well, congratulations on Pick Ladies. Thank you so much for bringing that film to us. And like I said, it gives me goosebumps every time I see it. So that's when you know you did a great job. So congratulations. Another round of applause for Alicia K and Hazel Downey. Thank you so much, guys. And coming up next, I have the pleasure of introducing our fabulous panel who is going to come up. I'm going to start with a woman who has been named one of Canada's 40 under 40 here in the country in 2018. She's an award-winning actress, filmmaker, speaker, and business owner, known as the Queen of Festivals for very good reason. She has started and continues to manage 7 very successful film festivals here in Canada: Montreal, Toronto, New York City, Halifax, Port-au-Prince, as well in Haiti, including the Montreal International Black Film Festival, which is Canada's largest Black film festival. That deserves a round of applause right there. She is the CEO of Zaza Productions and was recently honored with the Black Theatre Workshop's 2019 Martin Luther King Jr. Achievement Award. Please, a big round of applause for Fabienne Cola. No problem. Now, next one does not need an introduction at all, but I will do my best with this. And she doesn't need an introduction because many of us have been watching her since we were yay high. Watching her from the beginning, known as a model in the beginning, and in the 70s, working her way up to becoming the most famous Black actress here in Canada. And this is in the 70s, which is amazing. She began modeling as a teenager, and then eventually becoming famous right across not just the country, not just the US, but the world, as the incredible Dr. Olivia Barber on Young and the Restless, a role that she portrayed for almost 20 years. In 2001, she launched the Real World Film Festival as well as the Real World Screen Institute to provide a platform for talent of color, and that diversity that she felt was missing here in Canada needed a platform and a showcase. So thanks to her efforts, that festival has been going on for the last 20 years. This is the 19th annual that is coming up next month. A big round of applause. We owe her very much. Tonya Williams. And our last panelist, of course, she had an introduction with some amazing news that we heard earlier this summer about being invited to become part of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. She's a trailblazer in film and television, both in the UK as well as here in Canada. An award-winning writer, director, producer, founder of the Caribbean Tales Film Festival, which is up and running since this week. Her latest film, Hero, premiered right here in Toronto and continues on its world tour as well. Most recently, she's chaired the 2019 Feature Film Nomination Committee for the CSA Awards here in Canada. And of course, will have a voice in the 2020 Oscar nominations when it comes to the directors. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Frances and Solomon. All right, so three very powerful women who have seen a need and have answered to it. So I want to start off with what you all do. Of course, you have and you are in charge of not just founding, but currently in charge of these three major film festivals. And for you, you have several of them that are underway. And it has to be such a taxing chore. Not just a chore, but just something to do. It's not one thing. It's everything now that you're looking at. From the planning, the venues, making sure that you have the movies that are being screened. Tell us what kind of work goes into putting together a film fest. I think people may take for granted just how much is behind it. Fabienne, I'll start with, see, she's already passing. 20 years of experience. Okay, Tonya. For you, especially because you started 20 years ago, and it's something that we know every year here in Toronto, we know to look out for real world.
Oh, I'm happy to talk about it. It's interesting what you said, talking about the films and the venues and all those things. That is not your most important part. You have to start with a business plan. And just like any other business, you are putting a board of directors together. You're trying to find staff. That's really the first step. And that's really difficult because back in 2001 when I started this, I wanted to make sure that the diversity, Black, Indigenous, people of color was reflected on every level. So finding board of directors, very challenging. Finding staff who had any experience in the film festival business back in 2001, almost non-existent. So then I realized we had to I built into the plan that we had to train people. So we then taught people how to be programmers. And I'm so pleased to see that some of those programmers have gone on to work at TIFF, they've gone on to work at Real Asian, but that was all part of the business plan as well. So it's, and then you get around to, then the venues and all those things. But it's a long process. And what I love is, I had no roadmap, and I made every mistake possible, which only strengthened me because I learned best that way. The more mistakes you can make, the better, always in life.
Absolutely. Frances Ann, what motivates you to, of course, continue Caribbean Tales, but also, you mentioned something that is incredible to me. You think about the talent that you have launched when it comes to the actors and the directors, but I didn't think of that. The people who you've trained behind the scenes as well, who can go out and take on their own festivals and so on. So, Frances Ann, what motivates you to continue?
Well, for me, the festival is a piece of a pipeline, if you like. I was a producer at the BBC. I spent 15 years. That was my kind of training ground, but also my career. And I came to Canada, and I wanted to create a vehicle that would be similar to the BBC, but for people from the Caribbean diaspora. And so it would be an organization that would create, market, exhibit, and sell, create, produce, market, and sell content from the Caribbean diaspora. Except, of course, I'm not the BBC. I'm not funded by the government. I'm just me. So you start with a vision, right? And then you put the pieces into place. And I think the vision is what sustains you. The vision of having a world made up of content that looks like you, that speaks to your audience. I mean, that's the core. That's what keeps me going, really, is that I'm not standing on my own. I'm always representing everybody I know, everybody where I came from, my ancestors, those who went before me. If I didn't do this work, I would be betraying them. I would be letting them down. So that is what keeps me going.
Okay, that's excellent. And Fabienne, for you, starting 7 festivals and managing all these festivals in different cities, no less, and including one in Haiti, why did you want to start this festival? The first one that you started in Montreal, what drove you to do it?
Well, my story is particular because I never knew anything about film festivals. I never wanted to do anything about festivals or film festival or any festival whatsoever. I came to Canada, landed in Montreal, beautiful city, because I wanted to conquer America as a young actress. Okay. I was the most popular actress in my country, Haiti. I had just won an award in Haiti. I've done it all. I've been all around and everything else. And I was so young, and I was not a trained actor. So I thought I had the imposter syndrome. So I needed to leave. I said, I don't deserve all this fame. I don't deserve to sign autograph. I don't deserve to be, the Halle Berry of my country or whatever. Yes, yes. What am I doing here? So I decided to move to go to America. And on my way to Hollywood, I stopped in Montreal.
Just a little stopover.
I stopped in Montreal, and that was 15 years ago, and I'm still there because really, I always say, by the way, that you cannot have a one-night stand with Montreal. Maybe in Montreal, but not with Montreal. Because Montreal is really lovable. So anyway, so I stopped there, and I found people of all colors and in all accents, and my goodness, this is a dream country. This is a dream city. So that is exactly where I should be. And people were so friendly and nice. So I decided to move to Montreal. And to make a long story short, I could not find work as an actress, could not go to audition. Nobody wanted to cast me in anything because I was considered a young, cute at the time,
still cute,
black immigrant girl with an accent both in French and in English. So where does she fit? She doesn't fit anywhere. So when I saw I couldn't find work as an actress, so I decided to bring some films from Haiti here, in Montreal, so people can see other films. And probably somebody will say, "Oh, that girl can act," And so that was my business plan. And then, guess what happened? No festivals wanted to screen these films, and these are independent authors' films, so you cannot release them in theaters or whatever. You have to go to a festival. So no festival wants them because they were like digital films, and stuff. And at the time it was 35 millimeters and, these kind of big films and stuff like that. So I understood that, okay, you don't have any work as an actor, you don't have auditions, your films cannot be screened here. People are telling me, go back to university, go study law, go study this, why don't you be a host on, or something. Yeah. Anyway, but everything but being an actress. Right. And so that is where I said in my hopelessness, Montreal deserves another festival. Mm-hmm. And I was frustrated, I was angry, I was sad, I felt less than. Because I was denied a voice, I was denied a platform, and I was like, my goodness, can you believe I did all that in my country? I came here, I'm nothing, I can't find nothing. Can you believe somebody's starting from scratch that looks like me? Right. That person, it's gonna be even worse for that person. So my idea was, let's create something that will showcase talent like me and other people who are in the same situation. And today, it started out as the Montreal Haitian Film Festival. Fast forward to now, we're celebrating 15 years in 2 weeks. And it became the Montreal International Black Film Festival, welcoming Spike Lee and welcoming Danny Glover, Harry Belafonte, and so many people from Africa, like Suleiman Cisse, from friends from everywhere today. And all that started with a frustration and a dream to change something, and started out with that, it became everybody's festival today. So. Right.
Excellent. And in starting the festival, of course, back 15 years ago or in 2001 and so on, when you go back and think about some of the hurdles that you as Black women had to face when trying to start this, because right now we know that there is a growing trend right now where Black women are the leaders, whether it's being the CEOs or the tech leaders at a bank in so many different industries, as well as in the film industry and in television. But it wasn't always the case. There were hurdles that you would face just before you even walk in the door, before they even get you to open your mouth. They see you, and that's it. What kind of hurdles did you encounter while trying to start your festivals and to get the word out about the diverse talent in the country?
Are you asking anyone specific?
I'm asking you.
Me?
Yeah, because you're the first one to.
You know, this is always a question I get asked. You couldn't fit the hurdles in volumes of books, I'm sure. It's hard I can't say one or two hurdles. I can say, as a Black woman, your hurdle starts from birth.
Right.
So any of the challenges I faced in a career were no different really than the challenges of being 2 years old, being in kindergarten, where kids might say, "Why are you Black?" Where you're 4 years old and someone says, "Oh, my mother said religious people that, it's a mark against you because you're Black." The whole movie that we saw about the hair, that's your whole life. And then everyone's expectation is you're not to succeed. So that is, I'm 7 years old and a teacher literally not teaching me because her belief is Black people couldn't learn in the same way. So she gave me comic books to look at. She gave me, so you don't start the struggle with saying, what were the hurdles by the time of film festival? What it does is it empowers you. All those other struggles from when you're small, especially this is where parents become so important. Luckily, both my parents are very academic people, and so my father was a barrister, and then he became a Supreme Court justice. My mother, a registered nurse. They had one child. They nurtured that child knowing this is the world out there. So I was cultivated to expect that from the world and to let it in no way impede anything that I was going to accomplish. So I've just never thought that way. I remember, I think I was 6 and I had a Barbie doll. I'm like, "Dad, how come there are no Black Barbie dolls?" He goes, "Because you haven't made any yet." So I thought, it's my responsibility to one day make Black Barbie dolls. That's just how it always was. So then I started in the industry, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, I started out playing classical piano. That's how I was, that's my first artistic. I was playing piano, then I loved music, so then I played violin, then I played tenor saxophone, then I played, before I modeled, sort of anything. So when I went into the world of modeling, and I saw a lot of women who their focus was just on the beauty, and that was not even my focus. Everything for me was just a journey through something. Yeah. So I was still doing my music, and there was this thing called modeling. It's fun, it's nice. I'm 16, 17, 18 years old. Then someone's putting you in a TV commercial. That's fun, that's nice, that's whatever. It wasn't until I was 19 that I thought, people actually do this, because I don't come from parents who say, "You should think about being an actress." That was not, My father thought I'd be in politics and maybe, have a practice with him and whatever. So by 19, I realized people actually study this and train for this. And I went to Ryerson, obstacle. I auditioned. Out of thousands, they choose who's going to be in the program. I was the only Black person there. But that's not new. In my whole life, I'm always the only Black person there. So that's not even a hurdle, because I just assume that. And every step of the way, right up to now, it's no easier. You're always judged in a certain way. I can walk into any store right now. I'm watched. They're sure I'm stealing something. These are just the assumptions. These are not, and this is the worst part as a person of color, as a Black person. People might want to think you're paranoid. This is not you being paranoid. No. People are constantly looking. Men talk to me in a certain way because they're assuming a Black woman is more promiscuous and whatever. So I am the ultra conservative. I don't drink, anywhere I go. I don't, because there's this assumption there, and I'm always fighting against those assumptions. And when I started the festival, any man I hired was the most challenging, of any color. So black men talk over you, white men talk over you, you don't know what you're doing, they're gonna fix it, they're gonna... So that, I mean, I don't even know where you start with. What were the hurdles, what were the challenges? It's just every day.
Yeah, and it continues. And Frances, you're nodding your head too and saying, especially when Tonya mentioned that it doesn't get any easier.
No, it doesn't get easier. And I mean, yes, it does. It does. But I guess we carry the scars of what went before in a way, and also and also there are so many levels to it. So even though some things get easier, some things that are still a challenge, still getting recognition as a woman of color. But you know what? I don't want. I could add and add and add and add. And I also had the privilege of watching Tonya go through what she went through when she started Real World. I don't know if I don't think I was as visible as she was, because I tend to be a behind the scenes person, whereas she was Tonya Lee Williams when she started that festival, and boy did she take shit. But what I will say, yeah, sorry,
It's all good. It's all good. All good. All good. All good. Real talk. Real talk. It's real
what
talk.
I will say is this: there was some of the most important moments for me have been when Tonya has said to me, like even just 3 years ago, she came to an event of mine. But this is just one occasion. She came to an event of mine, and I asked her to speak. It was when I launched Cine Femme. And she stood up and she looked straight at me and she said, "I've been watching you." She said, "I see you. I know what you've been through. I know because I've been through it." And it was such a powerful moment. And we joke that we give each other awards. She gave me an award for the film I made. Opened her festival in 2008, A Winter Tale, and it won Best Canadian Film. So she gave me that award, and there's a wonderful picture of she and I, of her giving me an award. I was so proud of it, because I felt it was special. And then I gave her award as a Trailblazer Award, because I see her, I know what she does. And a couple of years ago, she said, she called me. She said, out of the blue, she said, "My award broke. It fell on the floor. The earthquake shook it. Where can I get it replaced?" And I thought, it meant so much to her. And then she gave me another award last year, right? For it. And it was all over it was like, everybody was saying,
We're
Tonya.
not going to give each other
Exactly.
awards.
Exactly.
What's the point?
We have to at least acknowledge each other. But people were saying, black woman Tonya Lee Williams gives her friend, Frances Ann Solomon, an award. And to some extent I felt, yeah, she's my buddy. She's my sister warrior, and I am proud that she's giving me an award. But on the other hand, I feel like she's one of the only people who actually acknowledges and makes visible, is prepared to make visible the incredible work that I do. Okay?
You know it. Yes.
Don't be surprised if Fabienne gets it next year. I just hadn't met her before. That would be a nod. That would be a nod.
And I was just going to say that, Fabienne, you're next in line for an award. But these awards are being given due to merit. And as Frances Ann had put it, it lifts you up to hear from your sister, from someone who's gone through the same thing, to say, "I see you, I know what you're doing." Do you have any examples of that where women have looked at you and said, "You know what? I know what you're doing is hard, but keep doing it"? And now, today, you see the fruits of your labor. You've seen it.
Before answering this, may I just touch on the hurdles?
Yes, of course, yeah.
Too. Because I live in Montreal, so my experience has mostly been in Montreal. In Toronto, thanks to the work of people like Tonya, thanks to the work of people like Frances Ann, I don't have to go through all those hurdles in Toronto right now, because Toronto now is the city of films, is the most inclusive city in Canada and everything else. Of course, it's not perfect, but thanks to people like you guys and other ones, it's better. And then I came and then, everything is already, the table is set, everything is good. That's neat. That doesn't mean it's not challenging, but it's less challenging than when they were starting. However, we face a lot of challenges because we're doing 7 festivals, of course, so it's multiplied by 7. the number one challenge that we face is to convince local parts of the government that we're worthy enough, that the impact is so big, because it is, that we deserve the equal amount of money as subsidies, because it's not charity that you're doing, it is taxpayers' money. So if we are having this impact, attracting this number of people, having that meaningful, whatever you ask, we're there, and then we get that, and the other guy is here in terms of impact, and then whatever, the trench mark is, and is getting this in terms of subsidies. Somebody has to talk to me, because we were trained as Black people or visible minorities to just shut up. Don't make any fuss. Just stay there, be nice. Be nice, be nice. Don't say anything. That's what they've been telling me when I was like, but that's not fair. But that doesn't work. Fabienne, be nice, okay? You see people like you, be nice. I'm like, I cannot be nice, because when if I try to be nice and ignore, it doesn't help the movement forward. So we need to speak up more often about what we see that doesn't work, because when I speak up, it's not just for me, because the next Black person, the next visible minority, the next woman, they will know, oh, there was that one that spoke out.
Right.
We don't want to deal with that again. These people will speak up, so just be fair with that, okay? So that's what happened. And then sometimes we don't measure that, but it's important. So we still, our biggest challenge today is not with programming. Just so you know, there are some big films, just to give you an idea, there's some big, huge films that are from Universal Pictures or Focus Features or big studios in the States, for example. What they do, they would send that film to premiere at TIFF or at Cannes or at Sundance or whatever. And if they come at TIFF, they don't care about other festivals really, because they wanted a big festival relief, and TIFF is the biggest. So we got it, and then let's get somewhere else, and then let's wait for the Oscars. So it's very hard to get some films to our festivals, because we're considered as a niche festivals for many big studios. And this year, for the first time, not for the first time, but one of the very rare times, we've been able to convince Focus Features and Universal Pictures Canada that although Harriet Tubman, the biopic on Harriet Tubman, a huge film that's gonna win a couple of Oscars, I hope, should open the Montreal International Black Film Festival this year after TIFF. Because after TIFF, what else is left to do in Canada? And especially in Quebec, where people speak French and stuff, They didn't say that. They're nice people. But I kind of guessed that, hey, what's the deal here? And we got Harriet. So we're struggling so that, yes. So it's a matter of, equal recognition on all parts, but it's not that hard to get great films, to attract celebrities, as we've been welcoming, Spike Lee 3 times now, Danny Glover, and then Martin Luther King III, and the list goes on and on, to Ari Belafonte, and so on, as I was mentioning before. That's not the hard part, because people really understand what we're trying to do and they believe and support. The very hard part is not even the private sponsors, because they know and they understand what corporate responsibility means. It's really now trying to convince the government to really treat you and treat us equally, and then don't give us like the minimum
crumbs.
Exactly, because and last thing I would add on that is, if you're giving me less for this festival, so what I'll do is I'll go back to my artists, who happen to be Black mostly, and tell them, I cannot give you that much money for your fees. I have to give you less, because we don't have a lot of means. And then I have to go to my staff and say, well, I cannot give you that much. I have to give you less. And they happen to be people from visible minorities, mostly. So it perpetuates the circle of poverty. Because they're not going to be hired by other festivals. They're not going to be, their films are not going to be screened by other festivals. So that means the festival, when they have a voice, a platform, and then that festival should pay them way less. So that's a way to push them down forever. So we need to, scratch that and then start again a new model. So that's my biggest challenge right now, to make people understand that it's not charity, it's equity, it's fairness. It should be that way, and we demand that.
I'm sorry, as Fabienne was speaking, I think it's really wonderful. You have 3 Black women up here, and yes, we have 3 film festivals, but they're 3 significantly different festivals in what we're trying to accomplish in them. All 3 incredibly valuable, but different. And sometimes when you do go to funding and sponsors, there is 3 Black women saying, they don't see the difference. So you can hear from what Fabienne's saying. She has an international film festival. She's talking Danny Glover. She's talking, Harry Belafonte. She's talking, and these are fantastic things to bring those people to that. And Frances Ann, what was great, she was saying, it's, creating what she was creating for Caribbean people. So all these wonderful artists, I've met them at your incubator, come up from Trinidad, they come up from Barbados, they come up and in Toronto, and she's down there as well, and they're meeting people. Real World is a completely different film festival. Other than the fact that we're 3 Black women and we have film festivals, it's completely different. My only interest is Canadian talent. And when I say talent, because you were saying the filmmaker and the producer and the screenwriter, that is a small percentage of it. I'm worried about the lack of managers and agents and casting directors that we do not have in Canada who are people of color. I'm worried that we don't have crews, we don't have lighting and with cinematographers. This is how my mind works. So I'm not thinking in the way that they're thinking necessarily in their festival. So a lot of my work, I'm working with the Writers Guild of Canada, I work with the Directors Guild of Canada, I work with the Canadian Academy, we are working to change things in Canada for Canadian talent. So if my option is to get a Spike Lee film, it's not something I'm interested in for Real World, because it doesn't really move our talent forward. I am constantly, so my audience is the hardest, because a lot of Canadian audiences don't even want to go and see famous Canadian films.
Right, much less.
Imagine trying to get them to see BIPOC Canadian, films. It's really challenging, because they want to see Spike Lee and Harry Bell. They want to go and see that. I have to go. That's not this.
We do all also.
And Canadian, yes.
And that's the main core. But however, my point was, even though we do have the support of high-level celebrities,
to get the funding.
It's like, oh, by the way, if Tiff gets Spike Lee, this is fantastic. That's phenomenal. And then Spike Lee came 3 times at the Montreal Black Film Festival. Oh, fantastic! You guys have Spike Lee, but
it wasn't. But don't even think about
a big thing.
But don't even think about it as a criticism. I'm saying try to imagine getting funding when you're not even trying to get it. I have to convince them. Don't you want to support this Canadian talent? They want to know who's coming up from Hollywood, who's coming up international. That's what they want to give money for. And I go, no, it's Canadian talent.
Right. Frances.
Well, my solution to that whole problem, I can't compete with Hollywood, and really Canada's not really interested in me, pour me one, has been to go global. So my markets have all been in Africa and the Caribbean. I see synergies. I want to build co-productions. And it's really been about a pipeline, which is to create content, because it's so difficult to create content here that's of us, by us, for us. When I say us, I mean our global diasporic community. From the beginning, I was like, I come from somewhere, and I'm going to go back there. The world is my oyster. So we spend a lot of time traveling to Africa, traveling to Caribbean. We make partnerships with African, Caribbean, but also diverse communities in England and in Europe. For me, it's important to keep the global perspective, because when I was growing up, we traveled a lot. My father was a diplomat, and so my reality, he was a diplomat for Trinidad. So my reality was that we traveled all over the world. As a child, some of the most important leaders in the world in the early 70s and 60s passed through my house, and Nkrumah, and all the Caribbean leaders. So for me, my reality has always been that black people and people of color have been in positions of power and responsibility and leadership. That's my goal. And so I've never understood this incredibly parochial racism. It's really, whether it's here or it's in other white-dominated countries, it's always been like a question mark in my head. But the world is diverse. But the world is such a big place. And that's the vision that I'm always trying to, but we're all trying to do that, right?
Mm-hmm. But it's nice because all three of us are doing, it's to show how varied we can be, even as people, we're doing...
Create a better world.
Yes.
And I believe we complete each other. We're
Yes.
We're complementary, because if we were all trying to do the same thing, there wouldn't be any,
No diversity in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the idea
Well,
is
yeah.
that we bring something different in the table so the menu can be diversified and everything else.
I really want to reinforce what Fabienne said, that if a woman of color is leading a project, they say that white women make 70 cents on the white man's dollar, right? I literally believe that as a woman of color leading an enterprise, I'm seen as probably a tenth of the value of something that would be led by a white man. We get a tenth of the funding, literally. Our value is seen as that small. Why can't you? You should be grateful. Is really the kind of thinking. We're going to give them money, and we're giving you money.
It's like charity. Like you should be happy that we're giving you something.
Which is
And
why
at the same time, the perspective of the community is, you've got money, give it to us. Because you know what? You're like my mother. You're a woman. I deserve to get. And so there are all these old, ancient, sexist.
But this is why we're happy that Rogers is giving us each $1 million to work with. We really appreciate that.
Me too.
That's the business plan.
Yes.
Wonderful. What I also have to say that it's got, I don't spend any time complaining. None of us do. We have no time, right? But it's a testament to the power of black women that we are sitting here fabulous at whatever age we are, and we have fabulous women.
Yes.
So that we survive with a big smile.
But I don't know if you're going to get around to this part of it, but what we should really also talk about is it's the young generation.
Yeah.
I'm sometimes concerned. In the same way, a lot of people who are maybe 18 years or younger, they didn't really grow up with, they have a struggle, but it's a different struggle. So because I fought for so long, I love, it makes me nervous if I see them taking for granted certain things and thinking we can't slide back.
Right.
I think we see with the leadership that's happening in the US right now, things are sliding back. You can never, even if you think, maybe I grew up where I saw no one on TV, so now you just assume that just happens like that all the time. But it can go back to no one of color being on TV again. So we never can stop for a minute. Like women who fought for women's rights, they get nervous. Some young women just think that, weren't these rights always here? People fought, hard, but it has to keep incrementally moving forward. I'm speaking to the too young. It has to keep moving forward. It's not, you're never going to be at a place where you're like, oh, it's all equal, it's all equal now. I actually hear sometimes people of color go, I don't know if I want to put my film in these kind of festivals. It could ghettoize the film. And a lot of young people think that way. They want to be in where the white people are. So they don't understand what we're building helps you. And when you strengthen it, your generation after that is strengthened and strengthened and strengthened. So that can't go away. You can't think, my film is too good to be where the other people of color are. That's a brainwashing also. In the same way that we saw that movie, that's you being conditioned to think that's making it. but these other festivals are just not.
This is why it's important. I always say there was our festival in Montreal. I take the example of the festival in Montreal because that was the first one. But each of them are different. Like the one in Toronto, the Toronto Black Film Festival, is less of a celebrity-driven festival. The one in Montreal is more of that. But you see, before we were trying, we were fighting, we were working hard, and it was really hard to get not the attention, but the recognition and that we deserved. And boom, Ari Belafonte came to the festival because he just fell in love with the idea of a young woman immigrant, coming from Haiti that he loves a lot. And then doing all that, that she needs some support of some sort. And then these people start coming, and then now, so sometimes it takes some powerful voice too to come and say, hey, it sucks because, hey, I've been telling you that all the time,
Yes.
all along, but sometimes it helps too. And then one thing I want to say here, because I see a lot of women here, most of the help I've got in my life and in my career were not from women, were from men. And I've always had a man being ready to listen, being ready to say, oh, okay, what door can I open for you or whatever. And women, I didn't get that so much. I can count on one hand the number of women in my life that supported me. So this notion of women helping women and everything else, I want that to be true, but so far it's not true all the time. And mostly women that are Caucasian, they're doing a lot of groups, like a lot of initiatives and to support women and everything else. And then when you look at that, and there's no women of color. I'm like, don't do what you say that the boys club is doing. Don't exclude your own, So I just want to emphasize that it's about time that women really support women. The same way that men support men. They lie for each other, they cover up for each other, they would kill for each other. And then women, hello, let's try to be that too.
Oh, wow.
My experience has been different.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm an only child, so I don't know if it works the same for people who are not only children. And my assumption is no one helps you ever. Like, that's just where I come from.
Do it yourself.
But I constantly help people. I derive my joy of helping people. I never think of asking anyone. Like, it just never occurs to me that someone helps me. So I think, in fact, I had never met Fabienne before. She had her festival. I heard so many great things. I looked on her website. I immediately sent her an email. Yeah. I sent her, I don't even have her email. I looked her up on LinkedIn, and I was like, I just want to say you're doing a fantastic job, and this is great. But I do that.
I was shocked.
I do that with people.
Let's see.
I do that with people like all the time. I've been doing that for over 40 years.
Right.
Somebody, I see them on TV, and I go, I don't know who that person is. I'll call the station, Hi City TV. I saw that black host, or that, who are they? That woman, that guy, it doesn't matter. I send an email, I write a letter, whatever. It's just to hear. I think someone just needs to know. Someone out there, especially someone you don't know, sees you, supports you, applauds you, thinks you're great. That is my biggest, that is the legacy I will leave when I die. That is the most important part of it.
Yep, that's it.
We need more of that. We need more of that. I have to say that I also have the experience that it's women, it's black women actually, who I have been nurtured and supported by women. And for example, there's one right there, Ms. Jean Augustine. She's like my mother. Yeah. No, that always reaching out to say, I see you, I'm here with you, whatever I can do to support you has been, that's what keeps me going. It really does. And it has always been at the core of it, women.
Oh, it feels good to hear that.
Yeah,
because my experience is completely different.
Yeah.
So maybe I should move here, but I love myself so much.
You should.
No, yeah, seriously, it's nice to hear
And whether
that it's different here.
Whether it's so, for me, to be honest, the closest collaborators I have are women of color, because we know each other. Whether it's Vanilla or Miss Jean or Tonya, there's a connection there that is not like anything else, and
That's it.
Sometimes I look around the office actually, and I have to go, "Oh my God, we need to hire like a guy."
No,
like
Because there's so many women.
I don't feel that
Right now,
pressure.
Emily is like we have 5 women, and we're like, "Oh my God, this is we need to like hire somebody who's a guy and put them in here." We don't do it purposely.
Right,
It comes out
but
that
it
way.
just happens.
But because my career started that I was in modeling or whatever, I've been more suspect of men. I'm not as comfortable because there's always that sexual dynamic, and I think that's always made me. So they're like, "Oh yeah, we want to help you, whatever. Do you want to go get a drink? Oh yeah, we want to help you. Want to have dinner?" Like that just creeps me out.
Right.
So women, it's great. It's just like I know they're not trying to pick me up. And so I think that's just my personal thing that I've always just been more uncomfortable. If a guy is trying to do me a favor, I don't know what comes with that.
Right. So, as like you said.
This is where my experience has been different, but that's good to hear that.
But you know what? And I have to say too, the little emails, the 2 words that you say to someone, it goes so much further than just that moment. So to hear you guys say that you do that, it means a lot because you really, I'm sure you've seen it come back to you, seen that person come back to you and say, hey, that meant a lot and that made me do X, Y, and Z. It really does make it further. And so that's
what
it.
most of you don't know. When you're in the public eye in any way, 99.9% everyone's telling you what you're doing wrong, what they don't like, what they hate, if you're an actress on something, what they didn't like, what they hate, whatever. You all think that these, especially famous actresses, are just getting no, they're just getting criticism night and day. It is like a stark to have someone go, good job.
Good job.
You think that's happening to them all the time. That's not, it's happening. Oh, you gained weight. Oh, your hair looks funny. Oh, is that your makeup? I thought you were taller. Oh, I thought you were shorter. Or like, oh, is that the guy you're dating? Or is that, oh my God. And because I was on a soap opera, that's like, I am free bait to just tell me any crazy stuff that you want to say that you would never say to someone. Like rude, awful things that
All the
I'm
time.
like, and I go, yes, thank you. Hi,
So, it's the
My
good.
favorite. Hi, I heard you were on a show. I don't watch it. I don't like soap
Yeah.
operas. But someone told me you were on one, and I just sit there going, oh, like you walked across the room to tell, like why?
Yeah,
Why?
yeah.
I don't really care if
So
you
the
watch or
good
not.
makes a difference. That good makes a difference. It's a big contrast.
something
to
positive to
positivity. We have to wrap up. Ladies, this has been such a great conversation between the 3 of you. It's wonderful. I just want to say quickly, Real World Film Festival, October 17th to the 21st, right here in Toronto. Okay? Volunteers.
We need volunteers.
That's a big thing.
The trailers.
No. Today.
We're not.
Yeah, but
you know what?
maybe we can do
I
it.
saw
We got a
they
wrap.
played automatically. They played.
Yeah, throughout. Yeah. But
I didn't get the memo.
no problem. Caribbean Tales Film Festival, that has started on Wednesday night and that continues until September 20th. So go and check out the films there. I already heard about rattlesnakes. I need to see it. That's all. I just heard about that. And of course, Fabienne, you have the Montreal International Black Film Festival September 24th to the 29th.
Yes.
So that is something that
For
if
my
you are in
Montreal
Montreal, the Montreal folks, because we do have folks from Montreal who are watching, our Rogers folks in Montreal who are watching. So go check that out as well. Ladies, thank you
And
so
the
much.
Toronto one.
And the Toronto
Toronto
one.
Black Film
Sorry.
Festival.
Yes. Plug it, do it.
February 12th until the 17th.
Yes. So once again, thank you so much, ladies, for this incredible conversation. And it's just so delightful to hear from all 3 women who have started something from the ground up and has done so much. Next, I would like to introduce another fabulous woman to the stage, Miss Sharon Hines, who is the Toronto chair of Rogers Mosaic. No, you stay right here, my friend. Stay with me. Sharon is going to say a few words to close us out.
How's everyone doing? Great. Did you enjoy it? It was a great panel. Thank you very much, ladies. I have to tell you, this idea came about last year. I went to the Caribbean Tales Film Festival and to the Gala of Hero. And at the gala, Fennell and I met and we said, we have to do this at Rogers. A year later, we did it. Round of applause. So just quickly with our Rogers Mosaic purpose, to be the voice of the Rogers community, embracing and celebrating our regional differences and diversity. Our focus, deliver content and experiences that educate people about the strength of diverse cultures and the positive outcomes that are generated, and develop key partnerships within our communities across Canada. My heartfelt thank you again to our esteemed panelists. Moderator Tammy did a fantastic job.
Need any
Our
moderating?
VIP guests, our ally and advocate Chairman Rohi Morgan, again, our volunteers, our Rogers Women of Color, our employees in-house and in live stream. We have employees in Montreal, our Brampton location, our Vancouver locations on live stream. A special thank you to Fenella Bruce, the executive producer. Guys, a round of applause. This woman is amazing. She did an amazing job. She coordinated everything. It was great working with you, and I look forward to future ventures.